Hey everyone, welcome back to Casey 3D Sparks. Today we are going to be creating a beholder miniature, and to make it a little bit Christmas themed, I thought we could make some little Santa hats to put on each of his eye stalks. Make it festive. Basically, I'm gonna just go ahead and hit X to delete this cube, and I'm gonna do Shift A to do a UV sphere. I'm gonna leave it oriented as is, and I'm actually not gonna worry about the size at all until I have him all finished, just because that way I can size him how I want him afterward. But just, so that way you can work in the size that you want. You could make sure that you go over to your scene tab, change the unit to whatever you're prefer working with. I'll be working with inches, and I changed the scale of my grid floor to 1/4 of an inch. For the default sphere, it does have 32 segments made up of 16 rings, and sometimes, I know if you're familiar with character modeling, usually you'll go ahead and hit this align to view to make the eyeball face you. But since we're not going to be using this as the main eye, this is going to be the main body, we'll actually go ahead and just leave it oriented like this, and we'll go ahead and leave the default 32 and 16. I think that'll work out pretty nice. And of course, we'll probably go back in later and add a subdivision surface modifier, but not quite yet. Now, what I want you to do first, once you tab into edit mode, is kind of visualize how you want your beholder, because the beholder is pretty, there's plenty of different versions. There's ones that specifically have like the eye stalks going around the center here, but they all do have this one main eye and the large mouth. So what we'll just go ahead and do first is set up the topology for the eyeball and the mouth. Now to do that, basically kind of picture how large you want the eye and the mouth to be on this body. So what I'll do is, I think I want the center of the eye to be placed about here. I think I want about that size. I think that'll work nicely. But before I do anything to it, I think I'll go ahead and grab half of it and delete those vertices. Go into top view, make sure there's nothing extra left over with your top sections, and we'll go ahead and add a mirror modifier. Make sure clipping is turned on, and of course you can grab it to make sure that it did apply properly. Alright, let me grab, I might just do the 3 since it'll be 6 total across. 4 might be better. It's a rather large eye. We're going to go ahead and rip this apart. I think I've explained rip before. Basically, all you have to do is hit V and it'll rip open for you. But you'll notice that whichever side my mouse is on is the direction or the side that will rip open. So if you have a specific way that you want it to rip, make sure you have your mouse where or in the direction that you want to pull it. So I'm going to start with the bottom and just kind of pull that down a little bit. And I'm going to pull the top up. Now obviously this is a large non-circle, but we'll just fix that momentarily. We're just kind of getting the hole first. So what we can do is start shaping this how we would actually want it. What we can do to make it a little bit more precise is tab out of edit mode, do Shift A, add another UV sphere, go ahead and hit align to view. We're going to size that down. I'm going to go into side view, and this is going to represent our eyeball. So that way we can actually go ahead and place exactly where our vertices will need to be oriented around an actual sphere of an eyeball. So I'm probably going to place it just like that. I think that looks pretty good. Get it where you want it to be. And we'll go ahead and click back on our beholder and tab back into edit mode. And now we see, okay, these are way too far to the side. Bring those in, bring this in a lot, and we can kind of shape around this. Once you kind of get your eyelid in the position that you want it, obviously you can add more creases and things like that. I'm just going to hit E to extrude. I'm going to go into side view so we can see it. Hit Z for wireframe, and I'm going to pull it back along the Y just a tad, and then I want to size it in. And then we'll have to pull it along the X a little bit so we can kind of start getting it to touch where the eyeball is. So that way it actually looks like the eye or the eyelid is resting on the eyeball. What we can do while I'm thinking of it, let's go ahead and add a subdivision surface modifier. I'm gonna crank it up to probably 3. You could definitely do 2 if you want. I think I'll do 3. Now the eyelid kind of starts to disappear. What I'll want to do is grab these, and I want those to be sharp edges to make it a little bit more defined. And actually for the bottom one, I want to probably pull that out a little bit to create a little bit more of a dramatic edge. So make sure you know you have it how you want it after your modifiers applied. So we'll probably bring that one in. And also I will want this edge to be creased as well to make it actually look like, you know, the eyelids are separated. And I might even push this back a little more. Let's go ahead and move forward with the mouth, and then we can go in and add more details later. For the mouth, we're basically going to do the same thing. So kind of plan out where your mouth or where you want your mouth to be. It's going to be somewhat lower, so I'm thinking about here, and I'm going to make it a little bit large. So maybe about to there, because I definitely want it to surpass where the eye, the corner of the eye is. You can even do one more if you want the mouth to be really large, but I'm thinking that looks pretty good. So just hit V to rip. I'm just going to pull it down slightly. I'm not going to do too much. What I would rather do is, because I want basically all of this to kind of move, I'm going to go ahead and go down here to proportional editing and hit connected. I'm going to hit grab, and you'll see that it kind of moves everything that is actually connected, but we're going to have to increase this circle a little bit. And we'll also want to probably just go ahead and grab some of the vertices that are down here to get it moving a little bit quicker. Let's go ahead and hit G. Yeah, because once you start to make your ring too big, then the whole sphere moves. So to get more of this focused in on the movement, we'll just grab those vertices. Like that. And while I'm doing that, it's kind of creating some of those like face dimples too, slightly. This will probably have to be brought down a little bit. Maybe something like that. Obviously, you can tweak it as much as you want, but I think that looks good enough for now. So obviously, since its mouth is open, we need to create the inside of the mouth with some teeth preferably. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this ring of loops. We're going to hit E to extrude and just hit escape. I'm going to go into front view, and we're going to size in slightly. Now you'll notice if you go into side view, it kind of starts to go back a little bit too, which is good. Now, if you're going off of most Dungeons and Dragons reference material for how our beholder looks, they don't really have like lips per se. It kind of just turns into the gums with the teeth poking out of it. So that's kind of just what we're shaping right now, is where the teeth will actually be placed. So probably do just about that. We will want to go ahead and sharpen this again, and we'll fix this edge a little bit more momentarily. And then I'm just going to hit E to extrude again, pull that back even more, and we'll pull that towards the center. And size that in. E to extrude, and we should be able to do Alt M at center and then pull that in to create the back of the mouth. which we'll again have to pull back. And we'll most likely want to go ahead and grab a lot of these so we can kind of make the back of the mouth a little bit flat, essentially. So we'll just do all of these vertices, do 3 S, Y, 0, and we're just gonna pull that way back here. If you want, you could sharpen it. I might do a little bit of sharpening, and I might even deselect most of these and pull this up, and maybe pull this back down a little bit to kind of create the back of the mouth a little bit. So if you want, could certainly make this a little bit thicker, almost thinking like this. Maybe size that in to make a little bit more of an edge, and then you can go ahead and make your teeth. So for the teeth, we'll just go ahead and tab out of edit mode from the beholder real quick. I'm just gonna hop over here and we'll go ahead and add a cylinder. You could do a cone, but I find it easier to start with a cylinder, and then you can always do a point off of where you want the tooth to kind of end. I'm gonna have all my teeth based off of this one form and just kind of different sizes. I'm gonna grab this one here and size that in. Do more like that. Do Control R, kind of make the base a little bit thicker. Do Control R, draw this up. Grab this again, size that in a lot more. Go into side view, rotate it, kind of draw it back so we can look a little bit more pointed. Maybe even rotate this a little bit and size it down. Size that down. Size that up. And of course, I'm adding a subdivision surface modifier to make it a little bit neater. Gonna go ahead and completely sharpen that because this edge will be hidden anyway. And I might even make that a little bit smaller so we get a nice curve going here. We will need to go ahead, and I'm going to delete this face because it's just kind of messing up our geometry. I'm going to do E to extrude, Alt M at center, and I'm basically just going to pull that out. See, more like that. And that could be your basic tooth shape. Obviously it's a little large right now, so we'll have to size that way down. I'm even going to size it to make it a little bit skinnier because they do have pretty thin teeth. So let's try this out and start placing a couple teeth. Cool, something like that. Nothing too fancy. Obviously you could change up the teeth a lot more, have them all have their own absolutely unique shape, but I kind of like just making a default shape and then sizing it in different directions to kind of make them look varied. But you know, obviously do your own personal preference. Basically, we'll just go ahead and switch back to our default beholder torso here, or head, whatever you want to call it. And now we'll just kind of look at the top here, and you'll want to plot out where you want your eye stalks to go. So now that you see, like, okay, here's my main eyeball, here's all the mouth, you can decide if you want to do that mean just circle right here, do a strip of eye stalks, or have them varied. I want to have mine kind of varied. So what I'll do is just kind of pick a few points and let's see, go in and kind of make those points circular without distorting the main body head, whatever you want to call it, distorted. So I'm going to go into top view, and I think I want to have one eye stalk come out right around here. So I will go ahead and grab these four, and I will have to change this back to median point and size that in, bring these down, and obviously once I'm done, I have to go into a bunch of different angles to make sure there's no crazy dimples. So first I'll go into the front view, and you can see where these dimples are, so I'm just going to grab that, maybe bring that out a little bit. There's not too much distortion with this one, luckily. Actually, that doesn't seem too bad. I think that works. Okay, so we have our one main eye stalk started, and I want to place a few more, so maybe one right about here. So let's grab these four, size them in to get our better circular shape. Maybe bring these up a little bit, maybe even size the whole thing down. And I'm going to go into front view. Can't really see too much, but to keep it oriented a little bit better, I'm going to use 6 to kind of pivot around and look at it, which actually, let's pull that right out. Rotate just slightly. You look at it from the top, which this one seems like it needs to come out a little bit. Pull that out slightly there. Overall, not too shabby. Let's do maybe about 2 more. So maybe one about right here looks good. So let's do, size that in. And then I'll grab all of these to size down the eye stalk size to keep them a little bit consistent. Obviously, if you want your eye stalk sizes to be different, go for it. Beholders aren't, I don't know if there's an actual science to the way that they're created. Let's pull those out slightly. That looks pretty good. Or yeah, how they're designed or anything like that. And might just do one more towards the back, right about here. Oops, not there. Size those in. Pull them out slightly. Check your angles. You want to pull that back out a little bit. And then that not too bad. Yes, there are some little dimples, but most beholders aren't perfect spheres anyway, so having a little teeny bit of variation isn't gonna hurt. So I am happy with that. I'm just gonna go ahead and switch to face select mode and get the eye stalks started. So I'll go ahead and select my first set of faces and just pull them out. Grab the second, E to extrude. I'm just gonna go into top view and pull that out as well. And also why I'm not going and, whoops, getting them all completely done is so that I can make sure that I am actually happy with the placements and the amount that I've chosen. Now, you could certainly go back in, add some more now, kind of take a step back and assess how you feel about how many you've created. So that way you can make sure you're happy with where you are at the moment. I think I'm happy with where I am. I could add a 5th. Might look nice if I did one right around here. Yeah, I think I might add one more. So once you're happy with all of your bases, you can start modeling out how you want your eye stalks to be shaped. If you want, what you can do is simply just grab the eye stalks, pull them out straight, essentially start modeling them out, get the eye socket, whatever, and you can rig it afterward. I don't think I'm going to do that. I just kind of want to get it set up to where it's just ready to be printed. So I'm going to do E to extrude, pull that up. Let me rotate it this way a little bit, and then I want to rotate it like that to start bringing it up. Bring this down. And once the mirror modifier is applied, I can add variations to each side as well. It might be easier if you go ahead and just rig it and set it to be printed that way, but I'm just gonna do it like this. Once you get the length that you want, you'll want to go ahead and start getting the eye socket in place. So what I'll do, rotate this, do another extrusion, maybe even add a loop here, size that up, and then we can go ahead and grab this, extrude it, size it in quite a bit, and then just go ahead and pull it back like that. And then we can go ahead and place a sphere in there. So let's just copy this. So Shift D, we'll grab that. Obviously it's way too large, and we'll size that down to fit our eye stalk. And then we can also make sure that the eye stalk is still pretty circular, which right now it is not. So go ahead, tab back into edit mode. We'll want to grab these faces, pull them out, pull these guys down, that out. And it does not have to be perfect unless you want it to, obviously. And we'll need to definitely fix this side here. Be a little bit more like that. Now obviously his eye is kind of being, almost looks like it's being pulled out of the socket on the side. So we'll definitely want to go ahead and fix that. So I'll grab this face, pull that forward, grab this edge, pull that forward, and just tweak it until you're happy with it. Which I think that actually looks pretty good. So I'm just going to skip forward and see you guys in a second for the rest of the eye stalks. Okay, so sped through a lot of that. Basically, all you have to do is insert all of your spheres, go ahead and mirror them, which is, again, just in case you don't remember, is the Control M and then the direction you want. So for me, I used X pretty much exclusively, I think. And then basically all we have to do now is apply a bunch of the modifiers, which I'm going to go ahead and save this first just in case something goes crazy. So I can also duplicate the main beholder in case if I wanted to go back, I could add some spikes, I could add more eye stalks, I could add in just extra tentacles, just whatever you want to him. So I mean, there's so many different variations on beholders, it's insane, but I'm pretty happy with the way this one is so far. Kind of looks like it has some cheekbones going on, it has a good mouth line, that kind of thing. So I'm pretty happy with this. All I want to do now is go ahead and apply my modifiers, go ahead and add a Boolean modifier. I'm going to go ahead and just do 2 for now, and I want to make sure both of them are union. So we can get our teeth first, which I'm realizing now that I never renamed. Oops, make sure you guys are good on that. And our main eyeball. So we'll go ahead, it's sphere 1, which I want to go ahead and just do main eye. And for the teeth, actually name them teeth. And we will want to go ahead and for the teeth, duplicate them. Where'd they go? We'll hide the first ones, switch back over to this, and we'll want to do the new teeth because for that we want to apply the subdivision surface. Go ahead, now we can hide those. Click back on this, apply the teeth, apply the main eye, which we need to hide. Tab into edit mode to see how it worked out, which that actually worked beautifully. So now we can go ahead and focus on all of the other eyeballs. You'll notice because I mirrored these spheres, for some reason the normals also flipped, so we will have to tab into each of them and flip the normals. So you can just hit spacebar, type in normals, and you can do make normals consistent. So let's do that. Beautiful. They worked out perfectly. That is how you can make a basic beholder. Obviously, there's a few ways to make a stand for it. If you wanted, you could certainly just print it out as is, use some sort of acrylic piece to glue to the bottom so it looks like, you know, a little bit better for floating. You could go ahead, create another circle just like the eye stalk and extrude that down and make your own base to be printable. But I'm probably going to try to do the first option, so I'm just going to leave this as is. Now, one of the things we mentioned doing was making this a little bit more Christmas themed and making a Santa hat to put on his eye stalks. So really quickly, we're just going to hide the beholder, do Shift A, and we're going to add mesh circle, which isn't in the center, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to tab into edit mode. So I'm just leaving all of the defaults that were in the options menu. It's going to hit E to extrude, and we have to pull that down to make sure the normals are in the right direction, and we'll just resize it once we're finished. I'm not going to worry about the size right now. E to extrude, Alt M to get the bottom. You can certainly pull that up a little bit if you want some sort of a dimple. Go for it. Alt right click this top loop, E to extrude, and we're just going to size that in to kind of get the rim of the like fuzzy part of the Santa hat. And with that loop still selected, we'll go ahead and just hit E to extrude. I'm going to hop back into side view and just pull that up slightly and rotate it. I may pull that back just like that. And you could even size it down just a little bit to start getting it to angle properly. E to extrude again. Grab that, gonna pull it up, size that in, Maybe a little more. Like that. E to extrude, grab that, size it in, rotate. Like that. Pull it down. We are going to want a subdivision. Let's make it look better. I will go ahead and add a crease here. And I might go ahead and add a couple loops here to just create a little bit of thickness, but still preserve this rounded edge. And we can go ahead, pull this down more. Let me pull it back some. Rotate, size it until you get the shape that you are happy with. So let's pull it back. I think something like that looks pretty good. Obviously, you could take this into sculpt mode, add a bunch of hat dimples and creases and other things like that. But for the sake of time, I'm just gonna leave it here because I think this video is getting a little long. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do a UV sphere, shrink that down, pull that around, maybe size it a little bit more, but have it kind of dramatically large. You can leave this space here, or you could try and hide it or merge that in, whatever you would prefer. But I'm gonna go ahead, apply the subdivision surface modifier, add a boolean, do union, do this new sphere, hide that, apply, make sure it applied correctly, which it did, perfect. Go ahead, unhide your beholder. Now, if you wanted, obviously you could just do the Santa hat right on the main beholder himself somehow if you made it the right size, but I wanted mine on each of the little eye stalks. So we'll go ahead and do this. And there you have it, a Christmas themed beholder. So obviously you don't have to do the Christmas hats unless you want to. Just go ahead and have a little bit of fun with it. Like I said, you can add spikes or just some scales or tentacles, whatever you would like to your monster. Let me know how you guys like this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know if you have any requests. And I do have some more things planned for the future that will be a little bit kind of Christmas themed. So hopefully you enjoy them, and I'll see you guys next week.